In the mid-2000s, I worked at a large amusement park in the southern United States. My cousin was a manager there and managed to get me a job working night security. It was a pretty boring job starting off, but being out of work for the past year and struggling with all my payments, I wasn't too picky on what I was doing, and the job did pay well. My job consisted of just strolling around the park, making sure the rides were shut off and keeping any vandals or thrill seekers from jumping the fence. I started to become friends with the other guards and the custodian that worked at night. Most of the guards who worked there were new, only one had been there for about 2 years. The custodian had been there almost since the opening of the park in the mid-90s. One night, after making my rounds, the guards and I met in the middle of the park, as we usually do, to BS and waste away the night. The custodian joined in and, during the conversation, asked us if we had seen anything odd yet. We all told him no, but he went on to explain in all the years he had been there, they had been through numerous night shift employees. He said a bunch of unexplained things would happen at night, especially as it got later on into the summer. We laughed and kind of brushed him off, thinking he was telling us tall tales to keep us on our toes. I wish I could say that it was all tall tales, but as the summer went on, things definitely started to happen. The first incident was when I first started my rounds for the evening. I had to check the roller coaster and under the track. I was stationed in the section of the park where all the thrill rides were at. Well, I approached the roller coaster and unlocked the gate leading under the starting platform and let myself in. That's when all the lights of the coaster just came on. I looked around and I just shut them off and dismissed it as a fluke. The next incident that I remember is when I was checking the bathrooms. As I approached, I could hear 2 people talking in the men's bathroom. I figured it was probably just some of my coworkers, but when I entered, no one was there. Things like this happened all summer. At first I was extremely freaked out by it, but then I must say I got used to it. Well, not comfortable, but not surprised when something out of the ordinary happened. Lights flicking on and off, soda dispensers pouring at random, rides starting on their own. Many of the other guards reported these things as well, but not as frequently as my area. One evening, when I first started my shift, I was approaching one of our biggest rides. It was a giant wheel-like device that was attached to a pendulum. Seats were fixed to the outside of the wheel, and people sat in them secured by a shoulder harness that dropped down and locked into place. The wheel would spin and move back and forth, gaining height and speed as it went until it was vertical. The name of the ride was The Wheel. Yes, I know, it was very creative. I wish I could explain it better, but hopefully you get the idea. As I was looking around that area, I heard a voice. "Shh, he might hear us. I think he sees us, let's go." I thought, finally, there's an intruder, something to do. I radioed my other colleagues, as was the procedure in the event of a trespasser, and started pursuing them. I heard footsteps running away from me, but couldn't see the actual person. The footsteps sounded soft and light, so I figured it was probably a kid. Soon enough, the footsteps stopped and I couldn't see anyone. The rest of the staff joined me and we searched the area but found nothing. A few nights later, in the same area, I heard a voice again. This time I didn't use the radio in hopes of gaining a jump on the trespasser without them hearing me. "I don't know. Which one do you want to ride first? This one looks scary," I heard the voice say. I quietly crept towards the voice. It was coming from just around the other side of the ride. The voice kept whispering to someone else, so I figured it must be two people. I made my way around slowly and saw a young boy. He couldn't be older than 8 or 9, but I didn't see anyone else. "Hey, don't run," I told him. He turned around, frozen in fear, his eyes wide. He backed away from me slowly, but didn't run. "How did you get in here?" I asked him. My sister knows the way in. I came with her," he said as he looked around. "Wait, sis, where are you? Where'd you go?" I could hear his voice crack as if he was about to cry. "Buddy, it's alright, come with me and we'll find your sister together," I told him as I took a step closer. "No!" he yelled and ran. I swore under my breath and went after him, but after a few turns, he was gone. Once again, we scanned the area but couldn't find anyone. By this point, I'm sure my fellow employees thought I was just crying wolf. Another couple weeks went by without incident or anything really to report, but the first week of August I was on again, by the same ride when I heard sobbing. I started looking for the source and pinpointed it. It was coming from the waiting bench by the wheel ride. I approached and saw the same boy that I had a few weeks prior. I kept my distance as I didn't want him to run. He looked up at me, tears streaming down his cheeks. Something happened to Sis. I can't find her. I know something happened to her." At this I was alarmed, but managed to keep my cool. "What happened? Where is she?" I asked. He wiped his face and got off the bench. He took off at a slow jog. It was slow enough for me to keep up. He took me to the other side of the ride and pointed at the hot dog stand that was awkwardly placed in the middle of the path. It always struck me as odd that they put it there. "That's where they say she is, but I don't see her. She won't come out." "Okay, look. I will find her if you promise not to run away again," I told him. He nodded excitedly. I went around to the back of the stall and unlocked the door. He stayed outside, about 5 feet away from the door. "Is she in there? Where's Sis?" I looked around with my light and didn't see anyone. There wasn't many places people could hide in this stall, as it was only one counter, a freezer, soda dispenser, and hot dog warmer. I looked back at him. "Please, sir, look again." "Look, I don't see anyone." I looked back in the stall for less than a second, but when I turned around, my heart dropped. The boy was gone. There was nowhere he could have ran that fast and hid, as the area we were in was wide, and I only had my eyes off of him for a second at max. Where he was standing, there was now a ticket in his place. I picked it up and glanced it over, about to throw it back on the ground when I noticed the date. It was dated 1999. I put it in my pocket and left the area quickly, still freaked out from what I had just seen, or maybe what I had not seen. Soon I met up with everyone for our nightly chat. The custodian was there with us that night as well. "You're quiet tonight, man. Everything all right?" one of my coworkers asked me. "Yeah, everything's fine. I just found this," I said, holding the ticket out. "Wow, a ticket at an amusement park. Wow, that's pretty out of the ordinary." They laughed at me. They passed it around, but when it reached the custodian, he took one look at it, and the smile from his face was completely erased. His face dropped, and he went pale. "Where did you find this? Where exactly did you find this? Show me." He half asked, half told me. I led the group over to the spot. When we arrived, he looked around the ride, around the hot dog stall, and in a decorative bush. He then got very close to my face. "Are you serious about this, or are you messing with me?" he asked me, his serious expression unwavering. I found it right here, I told him, alarmed at how serious he was. He went on to explain, back on that exact date in 1999, there was a brother and a sister that came in the park. They were very young, and the brother was the older one. They got onto the wheel. They weren't supposed to be on there, as they were both way too small for the safety restraints to be effective. A careless employee had let them on without even checking their height. When the ride reached the top of its axis at full spin, they were both ejected almost instantaneously from the ride. The young girl hit the ground and died instantly, but they couldn't get the blood off the ground no matter how hard they tried, so they threw a makeshift hot dog stand over top of it, which eventually became permanent. I was horrified at this. I can't believe I never heard about this accident. I then made the mistake of asking what happened to the boy. The custodian looked at me and said, "He landed over there, by that bush. He was still alive when they got to him, but died before he could get to the hospital. His last words were, 'I can't find my sis.'" Hey everyone, Dismal Hero here. Thanks for checking out the video, and if you like what you saw, make sure to subscribe so you're always up to date with my new videos. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.